I'd like to welcome Dezlyn Makheta. We engaged with her, I think, last year for the first time when we had our inaugural Womanomics Africa conference in November last year. And one of the industries that we were looking at was oil and gas. And I think oil and gas is touted to be the one industry that's going to spur growth, particularly on this continent. I think when we first heard about it in July last year, John Russia from the DTI was talking about the fact that there were only 3 economies on the continent that had not discovered oil and gas. And I think that's purely because of size. And every other economy on this continent has actually had some exploration on gas, oil and gas. But Mozambique, particularly, I think regionally for South Africa, is an important one. And there are many projects that are in the space in Mozambique. I think last year it was touted around $168 billion worth of funding and projects that have been identified in terms of oil and gas in that area. So we're quite keen to talk about what some of those opportunities are, but also I think in light of where we are, given not just the COVID-19 pandemic actually that has now impacted economies quite greatly, but also I think there were some occurrences that were happening in the industry anyway, which Dezlyn will highlight for us, just to get a state of what's happening there, because at one point in time, oil and gas in Mozambique was the thing to do. And whether those opportunities still exist, what does that look like? What does the future look like? So that we can begin as women also to begin to think about where those opportunities that we can participate in, and hopefully begin to relook at our opportunities and our businesses differently after this talk. So without much further ado, I'd like to welcome Dezlyn, who is from Standard Bank and who's got great experience in working in oil and gas, 10 years experience in banking, and a great experience in working particularly in the Mozambique gas experience, in the client coverage in corporate investment banking in Standard Bank. Welcome, Dezlyn, and we look forward to hearing some of your insights that you're going to share with us.
Good morning to all the participants online. I hope everybody is well, healthy, and staying safe indoors. I really look forward to today's session and look forward to interacting with you later on. In terms of what I'm going to cover, I'm going to give a brief overview as to what has been happening in the industry, especially since COVID-19 hit. Then I'm going to focus specifically on Mozambique, given a status update on the LNG projects and the opportunities that follow from there. And then I'll move on to South Africa and see what kind of opportunities exist in the midstream and downstream spaces in the country. So the oil and gas industry has been hit with a double whammy during these times. Along with the COVID-19, the oil price fell to an 18-year low around the same time in March when COVID became a global crisis. If you look at news reports over the last 24 hours, the oil price is currently at $27. And the Western Texas Intermediate, which is the benchmark used in the US, is at a 21-year low at $15. So if you look at the timeline chronologically, COVID actually became a crisis in January when the first continent, one of the big continents, Asia went into lockdown. This drove down the demand for oil globally. Subsequently to that, the Americas, Europe, and ASEAN Africa went into lockdown, further driving down the demand for oil in the world. This demand drop was initially underestimated by the global producers such as Saudi Arabia and Russia. And on the 9th of March this year, following a failed agreement with OPEC over production cuts, Saudi Arabia unilaterally decided to increase their production, therefore driving down the oil price even lower to capture market share. So subsequently, there has been an agreement reached with OPEC to cut supply. However, the supply cut is still inefficient if you look at where demand levels are today, and it's only expected to recover in June. Also, these supply cuts will only be effective from the 1st of May. So right now, there's a whole lot of supply in the world and not a lot of demand, which put a lot of pressure on the storage space. Storage is filling up extremely quickly, and there's actually no place anymore globally for product to be stored. Now, a low oil price, of course, is a problem for producing countries, but not for importing countries such as South Africa, China, India. And if you balance a low oil price with easy monetary policies and fiscal support, it can actually help the world recover. What we've learned from COVID over the past few weeks is that the pandemic is here to stay for another year. So businesses, countries, industry need to find a way to balance the pandemic and still ensure economic growth for businesses and countries. Now, the energy sector in all continents and economies is an essential service. So there's a big argument that the energy sector will actually not be as deeply affected as other industries such as consumer and manufacturing that is deeply dependent on consumer and consumer spending. If I move over to Mozambique and give a status update now, the LNG projects they look, and I'll start with Mozambique LNG, which is a project that is led by Total. So this project took final investment decision in June last year, and the contractors received a notice to proceed in July last year. A few of the contractors have actually moved into site and have started to clear the land. This project financing will reach financial close in this quarter, despite of COVID. What COVID will probably do is delay the influx of construction workers coming in by a few weeks to a few months, but the project is still well on track to reach financial close this year. Currently, as of today, there's also been a few COVID cases on site at Palma, and the affected staff is already in quarantine. Moving on to the Rovuma LNG project, which is led by ExxonMobil. This project was due to reach final investment decision in June this year. Given the times right now, financing of this project has been halted, and ExxonMobil has given the government of Mozambique the message that they will not be able to reach an FID decision in June this year. Our assessment is that if COVID eases up by July this year, the project is still in good shape to reach FID by the end of this year. The oil price drop and the COVID delay actually decreases the EPC price. The EPC price directly affects the total project cost. A project like Rovuma LNG, it is actually incentive to try and get the project to FID as soon as possible to take advantage of the current EPC cheaper pricing in the world. The current project that's under construction, the Coral Floating LNG project, is still on track to produce by the third quarter of 2022. This is essentially a ship that will come to shore, and that all liquefaction of the gas will take place on this ship. And the construction takes place in South Korea, and a lot of Asia, including South Korea, has already gone back to work. So construction on this project has resumed. Another project launched in Mozambique late last year was the Matola FSRU project. FSRU is a floating storage regasification unit, very similar to sort of like a floating LNG ship. The only difference is this project receives LNG from elsewhere in the world, and on that they are able to regasify that LNG into gas and then distribute it. This project was due to FID this year, but it will probably move into an early 2021 FID. This project aims to bring gas through the Matola port and then distribute it from there onwards. A key market for this gas is actually South Africa, because through a gas pipeline linked to the current ROMCO pipeline, this gas can be fed into the Sasol lines into Gauteng and the rest of industry. Even though the primary route to market for this gas is the ROMCO pipeline, in time, there could be a small-scale LNG solution. Small-scale LNG means that on the coast side, you are able to deliver small volumes of gas into coastal towns. In that way, you open up new markets. So the message on the Mozambique LNG project side is still very, very positive. Projects are still moving ahead. It's actually remarkable that even through COVID, Total will be able to close the project within the timelines that was set. Now, the LNG project is, of course, very important for follow-on opportunities and the local content opportunities. It is important to note that it is the catalyst for growth in the country, and it is a catalyst for opportunities. Without the LNG projects coming to financial close, there will be no follow-on opportunities that we've been speaking about over the last year or two. The government of Mozambique has high expectations regarding the impact in economic activity, especially concerning the procurement of products and services for Mozambican companies in the project value chain. Total has already committed to spending about $2.5 billion on local content, and ExxonMobil about $3 billion. What's very important in Mozambique's local content law is that you yourself as an individual don't need to be a Mozambican citizen to actually take advantage of local content policies, but you need to have a company that's registered in Mozambique and a taxpayer in Mozambique to qualify for local content. That, of course, means that if you're a South African company, there's an opportunity to JV with a Mozambican company, and through that, establish yourself in Mozambique and take advantage of the local content opportunity. Our Standard Bank in Mozambique runs an incubator program, which is designed to provide space, services, advice, mentoring, and coaching to support and assist new and growing Mozambican businesses to become established, profitable, and sizable. We select these businesses on their ability to positively impact the innovation stack of Standard Bank, both from a corporate and a business banking perspective. And one of the pillars of this incubator is the promotion of inclusive growth across gender, youth, and the informal settlement. Also important to note is that oil and gas will be the sector that starts this economic growth in Mozambique, but all other sectors will be able to benefit from this. The power and infrastructure sector, the consumer sector, the agriculture sector, due to the large scale of economic activity that will take place in the country. As we all know, Mozambique is a country built on agriculture, and opportunities from subsistence farming to medium to large farms to supply goods such as tobacco, cotton, and soya once construction kicks off. So overall, opportunity in Mozambique is still there, and it's still as big as ever. And it is encouraging to see that the LNG project is moving ahead. So now is really the time to soldier on, plunder on, and make sure you get into the economy, understand the economy, and find a place and a space to play at. Also, as I mentioned before, the incubator is open, it's available for all companies that want to sign up and want to take advantage of the opportunity. Now, if I move over to South Africa. So South Africa's playbook is currently heavily dominated by COVID-19. We are currently in our 4th week of lockdown. President Ramaphosa has already extended it once. We will have to see this week whether he will extend it for the 2nd time. There is great uncertainty right now in South Africa as to what the economy will look like post-COVID and how the economy will reignite itself. Given the sovereign downgrade, there's even more pressure on SA Inc. to reignite the economy once the lockdown is terminated. From there, we see a few themes emerging in the oil and gas space. The first one is the pace of energy investment as well as asset ownership that will emerge from these investments. Second one is trading capabilities. This includes the BEE wholesale platform. And the third one is energy investments outside of coal and renewables. If I focus on the first one, which is the energy investment and asset ownership. So this refers to investments and asset ownership within the mid and downstream space, and also to new and existing assets. If you look at an example in the downstream space, so we all know in order to own a petrol station, you have to buy into the franchise of one of the international oil companies, such as a Shell, a BP, and Engine. Given COVID, the lockdown, reduced economic activity, and reduced demand, it is almost certain that there are certain petrol stations that will not be able to weather the storm. We see an opportunity here that a lot of petrol stations in this downstream space will throughout the year become available for sale. In the midstream space, there's a longer-term investment opportunity in terms of refineries. Currently, only one of SA's 6 refineries is in working due to the low demand. All of them has gone into forced lockdown or maintenance. It will be interesting to see if post-lockdown, given the refinery space, whether there be availability of assets or refineries where people can be able to take up ownership or asset ownership within these refineries. The refinery space is one space to see how the economy and how a COVID demand downturn would have actually affected the businesses of refineries. The world is currently taking advantage of low oil price through stockpiling. Storage space is definitely the buzzword for the past few weeks, although storage space is starting to fill up globally, not just in SA. If you are in the storage space, now is the time to stockpile, but also now is the time to make sure that when we come out of a lockdown and the demand curve turns, you are able to distribute product extremely quickly to suppliers. Our focus point in the storage space is the enabling of more Black participation and deepening economic transformation. This is impact leases for storage locations in the country's ports, with Transnet tenders requiring 51% black ownership for all leases that's being renewed. We as a bank have spent a great amount of time on storage. We've got an in-depth understanding and experiencing in advising and structuring BE transactions, which can be of existence to any potential BE investor. On to the trading platform. Now, the Department of Energy launched an initiative to give out wholesale licenses to BE participants over the last few years in order to open up the market and to make it more competitive. A lot of people do have BE licenses and are able BE licenses to be able to distribute. During this time, again, when the demand curve changes, it's important to be in a position to be able to take advantage very quickly of distributing product. That means during this time, securing access to storage, off-takers, as well as financing. If you look at energy investment outside of coal and renewables, gas has always been a very topical subject in South Africa. It is mentioned in the IRP, especially as part of the energy mix, and a great deal of time has been spent over the last few years on the gas to power program from a government side as well as from an industry side. And our bank specifically also contributed greatly to the gas to power program when it was the RFP stage. Gas will continue to be important to South Africa, and it could be that given the situation post-COVID, where new investment is needed, there will be a renewed focus and speed with how the gas investment is then procured in South Africa. Another area of focus is the LPG market. LPG market has been coming under scrutiny the past few months, also because of the anti-competitiveness in nature. The LPG market also has the advantage that it has a few players within the market, such as the wholesalers, the distributors, the retailers, and the brokers. Given the emphasis on BE and inclusion in South Africa, one can see that even in the LPG market, this will become very topical as the market and industry starts to open up. I think the message on South Africa is very much the opportunities that has always been existing, gas, trading, storage, is still there. And I think it would be an interesting space to watch, see whether these investments will actually gain some momentum and traction as the government and the country start to rebuild the economy going forward in a post-COVID world. Now, I think I'll stop there for now and hand over to Lebo to do the questions and answers.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dezlyn, for that overview. I can imagine that there'd be quite a few questions, and I see that we have 2 questions already coming in from Bakolide. Anybody else has a question to ask, please can you put up your hand? There's a function where you can put up your hand, or you're also quite welcome to put it in the chat, and we can ask the question. Thank you very much for that overview. I think it's encouraging that even though we are in this era where there is COVID and there's some uncertainty, that there is still a commitment to making the projects work in oil and gas, and that the opportunities that had been specced, there's still quite a light that those opportunities can still be explored, and that the opportunities, particularly the follow-on opportunities that you mentioned. I think perhaps we'll get to some of the questions and I'll ask what people have to think. But I think for me, just the first question, just to get it through. You talked at a high level what those follow-on opportunities are. My understanding is that the extraction licenses and so forth have already been taken up. So the opportunities are not exactly in those spaces, particularly in the Mozambican project. What are those follow-on opportunities that people can participate in?
As I said, the follow-on opportunity exists over a wide range of sectors. So it would first of all depend on what is it that your company is specializing in, whether it's manufacturing, consumer, financial services. What we need to realize is that where these LNG projects are built is in the north of the country, which is very, very rural. If you look at the Total project and the Exxon project combined, you will see an influx of about 40,000 people entering a town that has, at the moment, probably only one street and one restaurant. So you can imagine all sorts of services will be needed in Palma, just as a starting point. I think, for example, if you think of a laundry service, a laundromat, for example, people coming offshore when they done working, and they need their clothes to be cleaned. That is a basic example of a service that will be needed. It's anything you can think of, be able to serve an influx of people in a town that has got very, very limited resources.
That's wonderful. I think it's an exciting opportunity because whilst we're talking oil and gas, I think for many people what they're not appreciating is actually the cross industries and the cross sectors that support an oil and gas infrastructure, which means, as you said, if you're in manufacturing, if you're in services, etc. I think the example that I think you and John like to use a lot is the 2 million eggs that people will require because you have to feed people, right? And the infrastructure doesn't exist. Okay, I'm going to go to the questions that are on here. And what we're going to do is that we're going to unmute the people so that we allow them to voice their questions. It's just so that we know who we can put through. So we have 2 questions from Bakolile, and Lesego in the background will unmute you so that you can ask the question. And then we have another question from Razia, and then you'll be next to ask the question, and then perhaps we can ask the third question from Fulufelo. If we can take those 3 questions, and then we'll have the next round of questions. I think if we can take 3 at a time, that will be helpful in answering.
Thank you very much, Lebo, for this session, and thank you, Dezlyn, for that wealth of information. You spoke about an opportunity for gas access through the Romco pipeline in the future. I just wanted to understand, how would one go about accessing that gas?
Okay, can we have the next question? So have you noted that down, Dezlyn? Yes?
Thank you.
All right. And then also, I think you touched on the work that Transnet is doing in Durban and working with Standard Bank. I didn't hear properly, but the challenge in Durban is access to storage. If you were to import a vessel into Durban, you wouldn't have access to storage because it's held by oil majors. I understand that there is a company like Vopec that is open to anybody, but I just want to understand what is the work that Transnet is doing to help out the BE companies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bakolile. Razia, do you have your question?
Yes, good morning, ladies and gents, and thank you so much, Dezlyn, for such an informative presentation. Really appreciate it. My question is, you mentioned opportunities in the LPG markets in South Africa with regards to wholesale. I just wanted to know, where do one go in terms of getting this information and opportunities and position ourselves to actually trade or become a wholesaler in this area? Because I've seen this been spoken about a lot, especially in South Africa. So I see this as an opportunity that will be booming post-COVID-19. Thank you.
Welcome. Do you want to deal with those questions, Dezlyn, and then we'll get to the next set?
All right. Okay. Thanks, Bakolile, for your questions. I'll address the first one with regards to access to gas. So the Matola FSRU is what is going to bring in the gas that's going to feed into the Romco pipeline. And this project is led by a company called Gigajo. They are South African. They also have a Mozambican leg to them. It is a company that you have to engage with them as to access to gas. They are the ones who are going to sell it. Right now, the Romco pipeline is the primary route. It is the one that Sasol wants to use, given that their gas in Mozambique is running out. So it's an engagement you will have to have with that company. And also, given the scale of gas that's coming in, you're going to have to take up a whole lot of gas the same way the Romco capacity allows for it to take up quite a significant part of the gas coming in. Then with regards to your second question with Transnet and the storage space, so it is correct what you're saying, that it is the IOCs that own the storage space, and that's exactly why the government has made a specific initiation to broaden up the market and allowing BE participants. And so what needs to happen is when these IOCs or everybody else wants to tender for storage space going forward, it would have to have a BE participant within their consortium of about 51%. That is how they are helping and assisting the BEs to really become a part of the storage space. Then Razia, with regards to your LPG question, so the LPG one is still fairly new. The anti-competitiveness of this industry was only highlighted recently through an investigation. So right now, I think there's still ongoing discussions within government and the Department of Energy as to how they're really going to open it up. Are they going to do it similarly to how they did the BE wholesale trading platform, where they provide licenses and people come and present a plan to them and they issue you with a license, or how is it that they really wanna do that? So it is still new, it's still in discussion. I unfortunately don't have a contact person. I can try and find out to see how far they are already and if there is somebody that we can already speak to.
Awesome, thank you for that. So I am now queuing in for questions. We have a few more questions. Fulufelo, if you can unmute you so you can ask your question. So we have Fulufelo, we have Trifina, and then I see you, Florence. So if you can take it as Fulufelo, Trifina, and then Florence, if you can ask your questions, please. And then I see you, Mosa, so we'll cue you in the next set of questions. Hi, good morning.
Hi, morning, how are you?
Well, thanks, and you?
I'm also fine. I wanted to know, how do I register my company to have a license for working in the oil and gas industry? And also, I've heard before that I need to be registered with a certain entity in order to run a commercial business in that sector. And then how much does the license cost and how long does it take to obtain a license from the date of application?
Good morning, Trifina.
Thanks very much, Lebu, and thank you also to Dezlyn. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Trifina, and I'm running a quantity surveying consulting company, and it's called Triumph and Zoe, and the website is triumphantzoe.com. So, I mean, I would assume my services would be required because we work a lot with building, construction work, but then I would assume in the oil and gas, you would also need to build some infrastructure. Even with the refineries, you mentioned that some of them have been shut down now, but for maintenance. So I'm looking at that as an opportunity. And so I actually would like to inquire, because I don't know how to actually get around tapping into opportunities where even like now I can now really engage with that sector. It's a sector I've been trying to really engage with, and I'm not sure how to go about it. Do I go through these different like Shell companies, like Shell, BP, and the different oil companies? How do I go about it? And then the Mozambique project you mentioned, if there's some travel that's going to be required, do you think that might be a problem as well? Because you said that you have to have a Mozambican-based company in order for you to operate there.
Okay, thank you, Trifina. And then I'm just going to ask Florence. You had your hand up in a question. Good morning, Florence.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, thanks a lot for the meeting. We appreciate that. My question is, I've already started the process of applying for the license, but unfortunately, I just went to Pretoria to get the application forms. And I was explained to what requirements I need to collaborate or put together. So my question is, because I haven't submitted back the application forms, can I still try and look for other services that are available, maybe to quote on or to do business, even if I'm still waiting for the license? Because I've got a BE certificate and I've got a CIDP certificate and tax clearance.
Thank you very much. Dezlyn, shall we deal with those sets of questions, and then we'll take the next set. Thank you.
Sure. So if I go to the fellow's question first, it's that you want to register an oil and gas company. Is this, I just want to clarify, is this to do the BE wholesaling or what kind of services is your company doing?
Yes.
Okay. I've seen, because they sometimes advertise tenders for opportunities in the oil and gas industry. That's why I wanted to know, because I know that I need to have a license in order to apply for those tenders, like what some lady just said now, that she applied in Pretoria. So I didn't know the process. That's the process I wanted to know first before I can just go into other things.
Okay, so I think what the lady spoke about, and Florence, please correct me if I'm wrong, but you were speaking about the BE license.
Clearance, I've got everything. The only thing I don't have, it's a license to operate in the oil and gas industry. So I don't know how and where to get it.
Yeah, I was asking, the message you were given is that you need to be registered to be a wholesaler. I will say BE.
may I suggest that perhaps you type your answer on the side and then maybe in the chat. Somebody's made a question that they think that Fulufelo's question is about the Department of Energy.
Licenses.
Yeah.
So the best place to find information about the licenses is actually with the Department of Energy. I don't have specifics as to what is required and how it is required. So the best place to really go to is to approach the Department of Energy. They run it, they issue it, they have the criteria with them. The best is to have a conversation with them as to how you really set up these companies in order to take advantage of the BEE opportunity that is in the wholesaling space. And then I think Trifina's question related to a company and the quantity surveiller and what it is that she can do. So Trifina, you're very correct that your services will be needed. From Mozambique perspective, I can say that the EPC contractors have already been selected. And they, of course, have to have subcontractors such as yourself to be able to execute on their contracting commitments. They all have set up internet sites or websites where you can go online and really register with them and make them aware that you exist and that you are interested in opportunities. And then with regard to your question on Mozambique, so the local content rules of Mozambique says that a company needs to be registered in Mozambique. That means the best way for an SA company to really take advantage without having to move a full business over to Mozambique and incurring extra costs there is to debut with an already existing Mozambique company. Our incubator in Mozambique is already linked up with most of the local companies that have an interest in the LNG space. I suggest that you maybe can sign on to the incubator and then see if there's a company there that can maybe match with yours and see if there's JV opportunities you guys together can pursue in order to take advantage of the local content opportunity that exists. And then Florence's question again is regarding the BE wholesale license. Again, I don't have the details of it. The best place to find the details on this is the Department of Energy. They are the ones that is running this process. So they will be best placed to advise as to how you set up your business and how to obtain the license quickly.
We have now Mosa, who had a question around procurement, etc. in the sector. We're going to unmute her. Good morning, Mosa. We have a hand up from Florence and Nhlabathi and a hand up from Tshidi. So we go in that order. We'll get Mosa, we'll get Florence, and then we'll go Tshidi to ask questions. Thank you. Go ahead, ladies.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much to Lebo and Rahima for this platform, as well as to Dezlyn for your great insights and fantastic presentation. My question just relates to the South African context, and it's whether you know if government is already thinking kind of post COVID in the way that you are, particularly in this sector. And for example, you know, are they thinking already now at this stage about how procurement will happen? You know, will it be from designated groups, example, women-owned businesses, etc.? To what extent are you privy or aware of government having these post-COVID discussions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mosa, for that question. Tshidi, you're on.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Lebo.
Good morning.
I just wanted to answer Fulufelo's question. I don't really have a question myself.
Okay.
Regarding the application of the fuel license. I think what Fulufelo can do is to attend, there's a course that is done by Emangweni Solutions, and Batloli Lezwane, actually she runs that course. And what basically the course is, it's about the overview of the oil and gas value chain, the global energy, oil, gas supply, pricing, benchmarks, distribution, refining, finished products, commercial and industrial markets, pricing, retail. So if she attends that course, she'll know exactly what the market is all about and how to apply for the license and yeah, all of those stuff. So I think she can actually contact Batloli Lezwane. Her company is Emangweni Business Solutions. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. It actually helped me a lot in also applying for the license and understanding the industry actually as a whole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. It's quite interesting because I was chatting to Baxolile on the side because she's saying, I can help. And I was asking, what business are you in? So you've answered for her, she said. She said, Tshidi's just answered for me, which is wonderful. So thank you very much for that. We'll try and see how we can facilitate that people can connect with Baxolile, who seems to be able to assist. We have Florence. I think your hand was up again for a question.
Hi everyone. Sorry,
Yes.
my hand was up once, but my question was not properly answered. You know, I was saying while I'm still in the process of doing my application, do I need to wait until my application is successful for me to start going in to do business with oil and gas department, or can I still look for other things while I'm using my tax clearance and my B certificate? Thank you.
Muta, on your question about how government is thinking, the short answer is probably no. As I'm saying, government is quite preoccupied right now. I think we're just getting through the COVID and the pandemic. And I think when things start to normalize again and people go back to work in their respective spaces, that is really when we'll be able to see where their mind is at, how it has changed post-COVID. We as a bank do interact with government a lot, especially on the energy side, as to how they are thinking. We comment on the IRP, so we do have conversations and stay close to them as to how they are thinking about how the energy space is looking like and what they are thinking around the energy space. In terms of the question around designated groups, I think the South African narrative is very much focused on BE participation, inclusion of women. And I think it extends beyond the energy space, but I think specifically in the energy space globally, it's not very transformed. So there is a very big drive globally to transform the industry, and I think that is what will drive a lot of the initiatives that government comes up with in a South African context for the energy space. So Florence, if I can understand you now correctly, you want to know if you will be able to, as I made the example, to start engaging with suppliers, off-takers, storage, access to storage in this time while you're waiting for the BEE license. Is that the question?
You're quite right. That was my question. Thanks.
Okay. So a lot of this, what you're doing now in the front running phase is really about having conversations and getting agreements in place. I don't think there's really anything stopping you from starting to do that. You are able to really just get the ball rolling once you get the wholesale license. Of course, at a time when you really have to get the product and distribute it, you would have to have that license in place. But I think it's always important to have conversations with potential investors and your off-takers and your financiers as soon as possible, so you can get everything in place and you don't get held up by a timeless process that could have outplayed itself much sooner.
Okay.
Thank
awesome.
you. Thanks. Now it's clear.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm glad that's out there. We have Nosipho who has got a question. So I see Nosipho and I see Trifina's hand is up again. So if we can go to Nosipho and then if we can have Trifina who's also got another question.
Hi, good morning. I am doing a project currently on the construction of pipelines, and I would like to know where I can get.
Her question was, I'm currently doing a project on the construction of pipelines and would like to know where I can get information on the cost per kilometer of constructing a pipeline. So that's what she typed in. I don't know if there's more around that. We seem to have.
Hi.
Back. There she is. Good morning. Hi.
Yes, that was the whole question. I'm not sure what happened here.
Okay.
Okay, that's the question.
Thank you.
Hi. Thank you so much for your answer earlier. And I just really wanted to ask and get the clarity or the correct name of the incubator. I seem to have missed the name. Maybe if it's typed, I would see the proper name better. And also just the name for the EPC website that has been set up for companies to go and look at those procurement opportunities, so that, yeah, I can start engaging with them just to get the correct contact details, please. And just on Nosipho's question, I'm a quantity surveyor, so I deal with costs, so we can also talk.
And then I see Mpho's put her hand up, so maybe we can take Mpho's question now.
Yeah, my question is on the procurement side, because 3 months back I attended Mozambique Opportunities in Kensington. So I'm a member of the Women in Oil and Gas. I attended Economics in November, and I'm on that group. So my challenge is the procurement. I'm willing to partner with somebody in Mozambique. I'm willing to access the opportunities. I've collected the forms at the Department of Energy. My consultant is busy with a business plan, and currently we are fully compliant. So that's my question, Kuti. I really need to access. How do I get hold of the company to partner with in Mozambique?
Nozipho's question. Nozipho, so pipeline cost per kilometer differs all over the world. It would really depend on where your pipeline is. Are there similar pipelines? Is it greenfield? Is it brownfield? For example, if we looked at a pipeline that should come from the north of Mozambique, where the LNG projects are, all the way down to South Africa, and that pipeline turned out to be very expensive. Reason being, it's going to be greenfield. There's not a lot of already land available that the pipeline can be built. So you have to do a lot of work around how you really lay in the pipeline. So it really depends on where your pipeline is, how long is it. The longer it is, the more expensive it's going to be, and what is sort of the geographic space where the pipeline has to go over and go through. But then also, as Trifina said, she would have much more information as to what goes behind that. So also reach out to her for more information. Then on Trifina's question on the incubator, it's just called the Standard Bank Mozambique on it. Otherwise, I can put you in touch directly with the lady that runs it. It's a lady called Sasa Ferreira. And she's always happy to help and to sign up and help you get acquainted with how the incubator works. And similarly, the EPC website, I do have it, but I'm going to have to look. If you drop me an email, I'll be able to send it across to you. Then Mpho's question on procurement. Mpho, so I'm assuming you are in a space where, or you have decided, if you say you've already got the business plan, everything, that you want to go into the Mozambique space, and you are actually just looking for an opportunity to really get acquainted with the current Mozambican companies that's looking at this opportunity. Again, I would say the incubator is probably your best place as to where to find companies that's doing sort of the same thing that you are doing, looking to do the same thing, and that we already have information on. I would also advise you to get acquainted with the incubator. Again, actually, I can actually send the incubator information all to Lebo, and maybe Lebo you can distribute to the rest of the platform.
Yes, I was going to suggest that. I was going to say after this we will share all the relevant information in the follow-up email that we sent, so it's in one place. Sure.
Yeah. I think that's all. Did I answer everybody?
So the question is, I think perhaps to kind of end it all off. So if one hasn't really started and one is thinking about starting and getting into the industry, what would you suggest is the first point of departure? So where should they go? How should they start, etc.? Because I think we have some people that are in, but some people that are beginning to get in, or some people that are thinking about it. And then the second question, perhaps in your opinion, if one is already participating, given the COVID reality and given the other market fluctuations that are impacting the market, what should they continue doing? What should they be doing now, focusing now while they weather the storm and wait for things to get back to normal?
So on the first one, I think, so what I try to do by focusing on Mozambique and South Africa is to really give opportunities that are relevant to participants today. Of course, Womenomics is predominantly South African participants, but I do also realize that we do have a broader audience. So I think the first step is to really decide where is it that you want to play. Understand the Mozambique opportunity, understand the follow-on and the local content opportunity, and decide if that is something you want to do. And then also understand the South African context, because the two markets are different. And then I think in the Mozambican context, it's maybe a little bit easier, because I always refer people to the incubator, and I do that really because Standard Bank Mozambique and the incubator is the best people on the ground to get the intel, and not really us based here in South Africa. If you really want to get the nitty-gritty as to who are the companies, what are they doing, are they able to partner with you, then that's really the people that you should be speaking to, and I'm always happy to connect you from that level. I think in an SA space, the LPG opportunity, the BE also opportunity is something that is every day is always relevant. And so as well the storage opportunity, I would probably say. The new assets I spoke about, new energy investments, and the gas to power is more long term. And these are things that we really have to see how it's going to play out post-COVID. How is government thinking about the new sort of longer term energy investment that they want to do? I think for the time being, while we're in the COVID scenario, it's very important to understand how the COVID is impacting the industry. That's in the beginning, I made the reference to what the link is between COVID and the oil price. What else has COVID, besides for just a low demand, what else has it caused? Which is just initial oversupply and then a reaction and then the oil price drops. So it's important to understand from a COVID scenario, the demand curves. Also, as we come out of it, how does it turn? How long does South Africa take to really come back up from the economy? You know, if President Ramaphosa said is we're going to go into a partial lockdown, that obviously means that demand is not going to return by June as it was in January, for example. So what does demand look like? How does the COVID and how the pandemic plays out South African and regionally, how does that really impact our South African market and the space that you play in, whether you are a wholesale distributor or you are a storage owner? And really think about the business as to once COVID is over and once we start going back to a place of normal, how quickly is your business able to service the industry in the economy? I think it will really be about how quickly the businesses go back and are able to service the industry as it was in a pre-COVID scenario.
For that, Dezlyn, I see we've got two, I think, very quick questions because we've got 3 minutes left, so I don't want us to go over time. But Xolile's got a question around whether Standard Bank is financing the purchase of fuel stations and what those requirements are. And then I see Mpho's got her hand up, so perhaps Mpho, if we can just unmute you quickly and if you can ask the question quickly so we don't run out of time. Thank you.
Okay, my question was regarding to funding, like locally. Like IDC, they were willing to fund us. So should everything go? But I think that can be addressed during the incubation.
Okay, so back to Lilia's question with regards to fuel stations. So what would happen is when you approach, I don't know if you are a client of Standard Bank, but when you approach Standard Bank and we will look at your business to see whether you are a corporate and investment banking client or whether you are a PBB, which is a personal and business banking client. A lot of the time in the SMME space, it falls within the personal and business banking world. If you are a client, then certainly if you are able to, your financial set up, then certainly you will be able to finance a petrol station through one of those routes. For your question regarding funding locally and the IDC, can you just repeat it? Now I'll try and answer it if I can.
Yeah, no, I just remembered during the summit that IDC was willing to fund, but I'm thinking now again, the suggestion of going to the incubator and equipping myself. I think that question can be answered in the incubation because I think it's very early stages to involve them. Yeah.
And maybe just to mention, during this time, Standard Bank is giving support to SMME clients. So if you are an SMME and you are us that get service to our personal and business banking, please approach your banker and ask them for any relief mechanisms that the bank is giving. I know they are giving currently debt holidays for the next 3 months up until the end of June. So please do engage your banker if you're already a client of the bank.
All right. Thank you, Dezlyn. Thank you, everybody, for joining the session. It is 10 o'clock. So we have come to the end. I think we could have gone on for quite a while. And I think it was a wonderful, wonderful session with really, really great content. I think it's right up in line with the work that we are doing at Womenomics, which is around connecting women to opportunities with insights and connecting them to partners that can support them in growing, I think, in areas in the economy which women don't traditionally get involved in. So our biggest thing is around where those industries are driving growth on the continent, where we're going to get to a $3 trillion US dollar market by Africa trading more with itself, we are of the view that women should have half of that. So we are quite eager to make sure that women are actually in those industries that are driving growth and not just on the periphery. So thank you for that. Thank you for the insights. I think they were very valuable for everybody here. We will be sharing the link to this recording. So this has been recorded. So if there's anything that you didn't get, you'll be able to listen to it again and get some more insights and share it as widely as you want to. It will be on the Womanomics Africa YouTube channel. So we'll be sharing this. And we'll be sharing the information that you talked about earlier, Dezlyn, around the incubator, as well as some of the opportunities where procurement can happen. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you to everybody that joined this morning. Thank you for the engaging questions. Thank you to Bakolile, I think, who's the person who's offered her services. So perhaps even after this, we can engage with her and see how people can engage with her, because it's also about collaborating in this space. So thank you very much. If you want to be able to get more information around this, I know that people would have joined this session from different spaces, not necessarily through our channels. Please make sure that you log on to www.womanomics.net. So Womanomics, WOMANOMICS, womanomics.net. Make sure that you register there, put your name down and subscribe so that you can get all of the updates, the further sessions that we'll be having, the next session that we'll be having, and any other engagements that we do have, as we do run some workshops and some other engagements as well. So thank you very much for joining. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dezlyn, as always. It's been a very insightful session, and wishing everybody a fabulous Monday and a wonderful week. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.